Tip number 3, set your shutter speed. Now that we've got some understanding of ISO and how this affects exposure of an image, let's have a look at shutter speed and get some understanding of how the combination of shutter speed along with ISO and aperture creates a well-exposed image. The shutter is a mechanical device in the camera that controls the length of time that the sensor is exposed to light when you take a photograph. Shutter speed is measured in fractions of a second or seconds. A fast shutter speed on a camera might be 1/4000th of a second or 1/8000th of a second. The slowest shutter speed might be as slow as 30 seconds. And then there's also a bulb setting where you can control the shutter and keep it open for even longer. When you're photographing with your camera and not using a tripod, it's best to be aware that your shutter speed does not drop too low, otherwise you can have blur appear in your photographs. And this happens because the camera is moved as you've taken the photo, and then your subject will be blurred. If you're working with a long lens, a heavy lens, you'll need to choose an even faster shutter speed. So say 250th of a second or higher for a camera with a big lens on it. Or a standard camera with a standard lens, you can shoot safely at around 100th of a second. But be aware of not moving when you're shooting. Keep your elbows at your side and be relaxed, and then your camera will be stable and your images will be sharp. Another factor of shooting with a slow shutter speed, as low as say 1/30th of a second, when you've got some movement in the shot, you're going to notice some blurring. Depending on how fast the subject is moving and how slow your shutter speed is, will determine the amount of blur in the image. And this can be really fun to play with, particularly at night time. If you're photographing traffic and you want to see the tail lights of the cars making lines in your image, then you'll need to choose a setting of many seconds, maybe 10 seconds or 15 seconds or more. And this can create some very interesting images. By leaving the shutter open for a longer time, you are able to create images that we can't see with our eyes naturally. Alternatively, photographing with a high shutter speed means that you can freeze action. As in this example, I wanted to freeze the action and I got lucky at the same time the guy's wheel came off. If I'd chosen a shutter speed that was too slow, the whole image would have been blurred. Again, it's good to do a series of test shots, shooting the same subject at different shutter speeds. Find a situation where you can photograph, say, some traffic, for example. Use a fast shutter speed, say 500th of a second or higher. Then choose a medium shutter speed of maybe around 60th of a second or 100th of a second. And then, if you can, choose a very slow shutter speed and shoot some more pictures. And when you compare these images on your computer, have a look at the different amounts of motion blur. This way it will help you to understand how choosing a fast shutter speed or a slow shutter speed can help you be more creative with your camera.